Did you know that 80% of dental practices are losing money without even realizing it? And in an industry where efficiency means everything, small changes can mean big profits. Welcome to Dentistry Dialogues, the podcast where we have real conversations about the challenges and innovations shaping the modern dental offices. I'm your host, Syed from mConsent, and I sit down with leading experts to uncover practical strategies that help dentists, office managers, and practice owners to work smarter, not harder. And today we have Daniel Cid with us. Daniel, who has helped multiple practices scale, streamline, and thrive. And we'll cover everything from biggest mistakes that dentists make to game-changing strategies that can transform your practice. So if you're a dentist, office manager, or a practice owner, that this conversation is for you, so you don't want to miss a bit of it. And today we are going to cover some exceptional topics and exceptional insights from Daniel Cid. Welcome, Daniel, to Dentistry Dialogue podcast. And we are so glad to have you here in our studio.
Thanks so much. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So with that experience, solid experience here, man, from office manager to being a general manager, managing multiple offices and getting into managing the finances for dental offices. How was that journey? Tell me about that journey, because people want to know about Daniel.
It's been a long journey.
I can see that.
So it all started my years of college when I was studying biochemical engineering. And so at some point I was working at pharmaceutical companies. I got burned out and I said, you know what, this isn't for me. And I transitioned to business. Around that time, I needed to go to the dentist. So I found a dentist. I think actually my dad found a dentist. And so he told me, go here. They're really good. So I went. Dentist became my friend. And
nice.
He knew that I was in business school. And so he started asking me questions about how can I grow my business? How can I implement some systems? What should I do? And so I had no experience in dentistry at all. But what I did is I started applying everything that I was learning in school. I started bringing it to him as an idea. And I said, well, let's do this. Let's do that. Let's start setting up these systems right now. And he was a recent grad of USC as well, back in California. And so he was open to all of these ideas. We started setting everything up. And eventually, all the hard work that we put in, it started paying off. His business started taking off, and now he has multiple locations.
Awesome. What a story, man. So one question that I have when it comes to growth, tell us initially, what is it that you have seen working for dentists when it comes to, growth patterns, like working with your offices or offices that you work with? What are the growth patterns that you have seen in the last couple of years?
So actually, not what I've seen, but also the research that's been done. We're seeing that every demographic, it's increasing the visits to the dentist. So what's that suggesting is that, and perhaps it's because of all the social media and the education that we have access to nowadays that's more readily available, we see that a lot of more people are visiting the dentist office. We're seeing that a lot of people are actually open to more procedures nowadays compared to many years back.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest trend that we're seeing. We are also seeing trends in technology. For instance, in orthodontics, we're seeing technology that is very modern. For example, one of them is called Brava. The technology is independent teeth movers. So if you think of the traditional braces, you have all the brackets, and then you have a little wire that crosses, through all of them. And what that does is it fixes braces in stages. So stage 1, let me, line them up. Stage 2, let's open some space. Stage 3, stage 4, whatever the doctor is doing, moving the tips, the roots, whatever. With Brava and, what other technologies as well that are out there, what those independent teeth movers are doing is they are allowing every tooth to be moved to its final position without having to wait for everybody else.
Oh, okay.
And so biggest trends is going to be the increase of patients into the office and also the technologies that are out there. Perhaps they are correlated, right? Because people are seeing it online perhaps, and then they're interested and they come to the office. So we're seeing those big trends.
Awesome. I want to go towards general dentistry a little bit, right? So in general dentistry, that's good insight. So thank you. I think people who are on the ortho side, they love those insights and the trends. I want to come towards general dentistry, where what we see is that the way the general dentist that we find, they try to bring in patients is through offering them consultations,
yes.
Right? And the consultations is one of the major strategies that the practices implement to bring in patients who want to come in for multiple reasons. They want to know pricing, they want to know what's happening with their teeth, they want to see if there's cavities. And when you offer free consultation, a lot of people want to come in. Now, one challenge with that we see is that yes, the consultation do come in, but many of them don't convert. They don't buy, right? Yeah. Absolutely. So they don't convert into actual treatment plans, correct? So what are the best best ways that you have seen in the past that the doctors have been able to, implement, or the practices have been able to implement, where the consultations actually convert into the treatment plan?
That's a great question. So let me tell you a secret. The most successful dental offices have learned that the reason why patients do not convert is because they don't see the value. If the office is failing at showing the patient or demonstrating to the patient what the value is of not only the staff, the office, the doctor, but the actual treatment and why they need it, then that patient's not going to convert. Let me give you an example. Doctor finished the consultation and presentation, and perhaps you have images. Hopefully you do in your office. So the x-rays are up on the screen, pictures, if you took pictures of that mouth, and you need a deep cleaning or something of that nature. And the doctor said, or a small cavity, let's talk about a small cavity. And the doctor said, you know what, yeah, we see that you have this cavity. It's a one surface cavity. Don't worry, we can get it next time. So what just happened there?
You lost.
You lost, right? Because you're not putting emphasis on the need for that treatment. Now, second thing that happens is the treatment coordinator comes into the office and repeats what the doctor said, right? And it goes something like this. Oh, Mr. Patient, Dr. So-and-so told me that, we need to fix this cavity, blah, blah, blah. He said it's not too big, so we can wait. It's not too important right now, but I just wanted to give you what it would cost.
Oh, okay.
So value again, right?
Yeah.
There's no urgency. We don't need to fix it right now. It's a small cavity. And this happens a lot in dental offices, whether, you believe it or not. We've seen it firsthand. Another thing, let's talk about the SRPs that I mentioned previously, and let's talk about maybe a crown. Treatment coordinator comes back into the room. Mr. Patient, we need to do a crown and we need to do a deep cleaning. We need to send it out to pre-authorize because the code and the code this and that is going to downgrade to a fused to metal crown. We want to do a porcelain crown, but we don't know if the insurance is going to cover it. What's happening? We're providing too much information that the patient doesn't necessarily need to know.
Patient doesn't understand a bit.
Care,
yeah.
Right? He wants to know, how much do I need to pay out of pocket? So in the treatment room, if that's what we're presenting, we are losing the patients to the jargon that we're trying to convey to them. We think we're doing them a favor by letting them know the codes. For example, this is the code we're going to use. We need the pre-authorization, and it's going to downgrade to this. The patient only needs to know, we need the crown, we need the SRP. Perhaps you can show them a quick video of what the procedure is if the patient is not familiar with it, and your insurance is estimated to pay X amount and your portion is X amount. That's it. The patient doesn't need to know everything.
Yeah.
So too much information that we're providing. The technical jargon is not helping us as well. Pricing is another big one. It should be simple. But in the office, we say, okay, visit 1 for the deep cleaning is going to cost X amount. Visit 2 for the crown is going to cost X amount. Visit 3 for the fillings is going to cost X amount. So the patient's already overwhelmed. So many fees that we're presenting, right? And then we go and say, SRPs are covered at 80% and the insurance portion is going to be X amount. And then we say the crown is covered at 50% and your insurance is going to cover X amount. But at that point, we're maxing out because you only have benefits to cover the first 2 steps.
Yeah.
And now visit 3 is going to be all out of pocket and So the pricing is not simple, it's not to the point, it's not structured, and perhaps we're not even offering them payment plans. It's important that we do.
So now you gave me an example of office that the way they're presenting is not acceptable. I want you to give me an example of an acceptable way of how do you present this treatment plan to the patient.
Great, put me on the spot.
Great.
Well, I think I mentioned it. So Mr. Samad, Dr. give me a name.
Dr. John.
Dr. John came in and presented to you the treatment that we need to perform on you. It's really, really important that we take care of X, Y, and Z for X, Y, and Z reasons. He already explained all that to you. My job here today is to help you come up with a payment plan that is affordable and that takes care of your needs so that we can get this treatment started by next week.
A lot of offices, no, payment plan is good. A lot of offices don't offer payment plan. So it's $3,000. It's $3,000. Whether you pay from the pocket or you don't pay from the pocket, your insurance is covering $1,000.
Yeah.
So $2,000 have to come from your pocket.
Yes.
Well, I have read a couple of days ago that 60% of patients actually decline the treatment plan because there is no payment plan offered.
That is correct.
And the 60% is a big number actually. So out of 100%, 60. So why do the offices usually don't provide a payment plan? Or I have seen them talking about Care Credit, Sunbit, and bringing the third parties and asking them to basically fund those treatments, right?
So the answer is risk. And if you're watching at the general office or you're a doctor, go ahead and pull a report of unscheduled treatment because that's going to give you a dollar amount. So if you're using Dentrix unscheduled treatment, download it from the manager module, and it's going to give you a dollar amount. If that amount is over $100,000, even if it's $50,000, you are losing a ton of money by not offering payment plans. So to answer your question, what Care Credit, Cherry, Alfian, Sunbit, and many others, what they're actually doing is they're charging you about 15% or to the doctor, they're charging about 50% of the treatment cost in exchange of them taking the risk. And what is the risk? The risk is, what if the patient doesn't pay me? Right? We're talking about general dentistry, so it's a little bit different than other specialties like ortho, in which you have about 2 years to pay for the full treatment. General dentistry, you can technically be done in 1 to 2 visits. And so if you render the services and that patient doesn't pay you back, then you potentially could lose a lot of money, right? But let's think about it this way. Let's talk about a patient who has insurance. If the insurance covers $2,000 and your treatment cost, assuming crown, root canals, etc., major treatment, if we're talking about a total bill of $4,000, what's happening is the patient says, I don't have $2,000 to pay you out of pocket, right? But we're forgetting that we can be getting the $2,000 from the insurance. That's going to cover our overhead and our cost for lab fees and whatnot. The employees, doctor time, all of that. And then anything after covering our costs, it's considered profit. So we are leaving in the table profit of $2,000 because we don't want to risk. We don't want the risk, right? And that's where Care Credit and them come in. They pay us the $2,000 at the dental office, and then the patient has to pay Care Credit back, right?
So I have talked to some doctors who really don't like the idea of bringing third parties because the patients are not comfortable signing up for another, it's basically a credit card, right? And then they don't want to go through giving social security number for checks and all that stuff, hard credit checks and soft credit checks and all whatnot. So the solution that I find very useful for doctors is providing an in-house payment plan. And for that, we do have, I'm just going to advertise ourselves here. We do have a payment plan option within mConsent itself where our clients can activate it at any time and just offer that payment plans to their patients, which I think helps the office to increase their acceptance rate.
Acceptance rate. And so the way you would structure something like that would be, you would have, let's say, going back to that same scenario, you're getting $2,000 from the insurance, and then there's $2,000 remaining that we need to figure out what to do with it. So if you can collect $500 from the patient and then set them up on payments of, let's say, $250 a month, then you're collecting $2,500 up front. You're covering your cost, and everything else that's supposed to come in the next few months is going to be profit. So in an ideal world, yes, we want to collect everything up front. But going back to the example that we were talking about with the $2,000 insurance and then $2,000 balance, in a scenario like that, if you can convince that patient to put down $500 from their portion and then set up payments for them of, say, $250 a month, what you're essentially doing is collecting $2,500 total because
2,000
insurance,
500 cash.
Exactly. And this is assuming you have a really good breakdown and accurate breakdown of the insurance, and you know exactly what's going to pay, what's not going to pay. So assuming that's all done, then what we need to, going back to the insurance example with the $2,000, what you could do in a scenario like that is you can convince that patient to put down $500 and then set them up on payment plans for $250 a month, something like that. Something that's comfortable. The average payment plan that people are comfortable with in 2024, 2025 is anywhere between $200 and $250 a month. So that's a comfortable payment amount. And so after that, you render treatment, you bill the insurance, you get the fee from the insurance back, the benefit amount, and then you are. So by allowing the payment plan, not only are you increasing your production, you're increasing the revenue, you're increasing cash flow, because now you have those $250 coming in every month for a period of time, which you wouldn't have if the patient decided to decline the treatment because we didn't offer that solution.
It helps with cash flow and growth.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely it helps with cash flow and growth. So the payment plan, usually people don't think too much about that. So I work with 3 offices, and all 3 offices reported immediately, like they started seeing like 5 to 10% of improvement in their collection or improvement in their acceptance of the treatment plans. And that converts into, like, multiply that by 12, right? So if you're $1 million office, and additional 10% is like 1.1 million. So that is the power of, I think, having in-house payment plan. I think there are cases where people don't want to take risk with $10,000 payments, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's when the third parties can come in. They can use the third parties and reduce their risk. But for smaller amounts, I don't think people want to go to third parties just to run the credit checks and all that stuff. And they see that as a hassle, where now the practice can bring its own solution and say that, oh, there's no soft credit check, hard credit check. All you have to do is work with us. Make sure your payments are coming on time. Put your credit card in place, which has the proper limits, and we'll go from there. So it does make sense for you to collect, you to have a payment plan for smaller amounts. I would say between 1,000 to maybe 4,000 or 5,000, depending on the the tolerance that the dental practice would like to take the risk, like the risk-taking capacity of the dental office. But for, I think, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 implants and all that stuff, I do think that, third parties do come handy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those companies are designed for taking that kind of risk.
Absolutely. It's a numbers game for them.
And what do you do, Daniel, with somebody who says that I do not have insurance and they're cash patients, basically?
So you would essentially do the same thing with cash patients. You
Mhm.
would obviously structure it in a different way.
Mm.
So let's say it's a $2,000 treatment. That's within the risk tolerance of the doctor. So we're able to do that. What you would want to do in those scenarios is try to collect at least 50% upfront as your down payment. And the reason why is because historically your overhead in a dental office is about 50%.
Yeah,
So
you mentioned that.
That would cover your cost of treatment, your lab fees, and everything else that you might need or have as an expense. And then everything else would just be profit, assuming it's the 50%, right?
Yeah.
So you still want to do the same thing. Try to collect at least the 50%. If that patient cannot commit to $1,000 right there on the chair, at least collect $500.
Mhm.
Perhaps start with something small, let's say a filling or
Mhm.
something like that, if they need additional treatment. And then, schedule out maybe a month. Let them do the next, let them take care of the next payment.
Mhm.
Let them take care of the next payment, schedule the next visit. So just, you can accommodate them. You're not always busy at the dental office. There will be times in which the schedule falls apart, and you can have a list of those patients and bring them back in if they're paying, smaller amounts or because they didn't have the resources or whatever the case.
Yeah.
You can still help them, and you're still covering your costs. You're still bringing them in whenever you can. But at least 50%, I would say, cover your cost, and then the rest you can risk at least half of it.
Awesome. Those are great insights. I know the practice managers, the dentists who are listening to this are going to look at their strategies to see, what strategies works for their practice, because every practice is different.
Yeah.
Right. So going back to the question that I think I was asking, what is the right way to basically present the treatment plan acceptance, right? Or for the treatment plan acceptance, what is the right way? You started saying that, and then we went on a tangent here. So
yes,
go ahead.
So essentially what you want to do is you want to put the patient at ease, right?
Mhm.
The doctor already talked to the patient. Treatment coordinator comes in. Mr. Samad, Dr. John already talked to you about your treatment. This is why it's important. So we need to reiterate the importance of it.
Mhm.
And then if the patient is unfamiliar with a procedure, we always have a library of videos that we show them. And that it's 10 seconds, 20 seconds clips. What's a crown?
For example, I just don't know what root canal means. Right. So you just have to you have to make it dumb enough for me to understand what does a root canal mean and why do I need to take that seriously, or else I'm going to lose my tooth, or I'm going to not able to sleep for multiple nights. So I think those are the videos that a patient needs to see to understand, the treatment. Okay.
Most of the time, the doctor already explained all of that,
Mhm.
but a video, a short clip, I find it to be 10 times more effective
Mm.
because you can actually see it. You see that, they have to open the tooth, they have to remove the nerve. The nerve is going to show up and it's going to be black, and, the patient can see it. They can relate to that.
They can see what is the damage there.
Correct.
Okay.
And this is just a sample video, right? It doesn't have to be an actual video. It could be
Yeah.
just like a training video or something like that.
Mhm.
And so what that does is that it helps create value because now the patient can see what exactly that they need. You can, as a treatment coordinator, reemphasize what would happen if you don't get it done, and then go into the cost. After we touch those points, like Mr. Samad, your insurance is going to cover $2,000, and your out-of-pocket expense is $1,000.
So first, show value. Show
Show the
exactly
value.
show exactly what's going to happen.
Yes.
And
Ask the question.
and repeat that again.
Yeah.
Repeat the value again, and then ask question if they understand what's going to happen.
Yes.
And then talk about
So-
the payment plans or the price base.
So here's the thing: through questioning or through going back with the patient over the procedures, like touching back on that, is going to help you create that value.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times the patient will sit on the chair, the doctor explains the treatment, and they say, "Oh yeah, but they really don't understand what's happening. They
Yeah.
don't know what the doctor means.
Because their mind is in 5 places now.
Right. And not only that, but it's easy for the doctor to say we have to remove this and this, and sometimes a lot
The
of doctors-
jargon doesn't
the jargon
help.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so by clarifying that through questions, then the patient can open up, feel more relaxed with the treatment coordinator, and say, "Hey, these are my concerns. I really don't know what." And so you can go back and explain it, show the video, and then let's talk about money.
Okay.
Let's create a payment plan that's comfortable if we need to go in that direction. If not, all you have to do is insurance is going to cover $2,000. Your portion is going to be $1,000, $2,000, whatever it is. How would you like to take care of it?
Mhm.
Then let the patient struggle. They're going to tell you, what exactly is happening. They're going to say, "Here's my credit card," or they're going to say, "I don't have that kind of money right now," or they'll say something like, "I need to think about it." Right. And so the objections that you're going to receive are going to be most of the time a factor related to financials.
Yeah.
But if you, from the get-go, go ahead and remove that objection and you say, "This is how much it would cost." And then if you can tell, right, in a patient, or they probably express that in one way or another, that financials are tight, you can say, don't worry about the financials. Let's talk about what the importance of the treatment.
Mhm.
The financials are going to come second.
Mhm.
Let's talk about a payment plan that's comfortable for you. Does
Awesome.
$500 work for you today?
Love that. Thank you. One thing that let's switch the gears a little bit.
Sure.
Is that okay? So one thing that I have seen you talking about that I really liked, and I think if you can talk about that again, is about how do you build strong hygiene departments, right? How do you recall patients? How do you reactivate patients? What are some of the effective ways that you have seen that you can bring back this inactive patients, or you can recall the patients?
So
Because I know what people do. They have like something called as recalls in their system. They would think that the automated email will go and it will bring back patients, right? So I want to hear from you. What do you think?
So email, calling, those are good.
Mhm.
They're not going to be answered all the time, obviously, but those are going to be the bottom line of what needs to be done. What we do sometimes in our offices, because nobody wants to do recall, nobody wants to be calling inactive patients. You're not gonna receive answers, or it takes
Yeah.
forever. It's really time consuming. It's something that doesn't add value in the sense that most of the time is going to be wasted time, right? So what you want to do
So
is
you're saying that the front office making calls is a waste of time.
yes, and it's
Okay.
costly because they're expensive, right?
Correct.
25, 35, 40,
Yeah.
$50 an hour,
Mm.
whatever you pay them. So that is going to add up if you have somebody like that making those calls or sending emails. But sometimes you have to do it.
Mhm.
What we do is we automate the first round.
Mhm.
So we go back and we, sometimes it could be a text that is kind of funny, you ghosted us.
Mm.
And then Mr. So-and-so, we haven't seen you for, over a year, kind of like touch base with us,
A
right?
text message that's not intimidating but funny enough.
Exactly.
Or empathizing with them that, hey, doctor, want to see you. Is everything
Right.
okay?
Like life happens,
Life
we know
happens.
you're busy,
Yes,
come
yes.
back. This is what we have. You can also do the same thing with like a special offer.
Mhm.
So $100 off whitening after you're cleaning. So you're
Free
giving them-
consultation. We have been talking about that, right?
So
No?
in my opinion, and
Mhm.
from what we've seen, giving something for free reduces your value.
True.
So a lot of patients will come in because they want that free thing, but they're not going to convert into something else.
Mhm.
It's really rare. We see that really rare.
Yeah.
So even when our competition, so there's one office here in Texas that we have one office in, one side of the street, and then there's the competitor on the other side of the street. They offer free consultation, free exam, x-rays, cleaning, blah, blah, blah. But this other office, they charge $150. We charge $150. Why? Because we want to attract that type of clientele that is willing to pay and sees the value in everything that we're providing.
Mhm.
So it just depends on your
Sure.
type of clientele that you have.
Yeah.
But most of the time when you offer free stuff, you'll get a lot of traffic. But those are for the offices that you will have the strategy of low price, high volume, right? For most of my offices, what we like to see is lower volume, but higher price. So it just depends on the type of offices that you are.
Now, that brings up a question. Actually, I want to talk about a strategy that AI is going to help you do it.
Oh, let's talk about it. Let's see.
So here's a strategy, right? So what you do is that, let's say you have 300 patients that hasn't shown up for your practice for more than a year. You group those patients. You do have a permission to make a call to them or send a
Yes.
text message, right? You group those patients and you take 100 patients a day, and then you send them a message, text message, the same way that you talked about, but you tell them to call us back to book your appointment. Now, what you are going to see that a lot of people are going to call. The way you're going to use AI is you are going to have an AI answering that call and booking an appointment right into your EMR system without having to deal with front office.
I see.
So 300 calls, people get, oh, what if all 300 people start calling? They're not going to call. Let's say if 10% of those calls, you get 30 calls, right? Your front office is going to, we know that what we have learned over the period of time is that 20 to 30% of the calls get missed. And that means revenue, right? It's after hours. It's, the front office is busy. They're on the second line and they get missed. Having an AI receptionist, a lot of people get anxious when I say AI answering your calls, but you got to listen to see how it actually answers. It's pretty mission critical, and it answers in a way where it understands the patients. It asks what insurance he uses, and then it books the appointment right into your system, where the patient gets a text message saying that, oh, thank you for confirming. It's getting better and better, right? So I have seen it working. It's getting better and better. Zaha is our system that does that. So the AI can help you schedule it. That way you don't have those leaky processes where you're missing the calls. Patients call after hours and there's nobody else to pick up the call. So those leaks are closed when you have AI implemented and helps you bring in those recalls patients, right? So I think it really works if you text message. And I have a doctor who's actually testing out as we speak, is that he takes 500 patient numbers and he's doing a voice drop in his voice. So he will basically say, hey, this is Dr. John. I just wanted to see, I haven't seen you for a while. I want to see if you're available
available. I have appointments opening up starting next week. I have a few spots left. If you're interested, give me a call back and we can see if we can get you in.
Yep.
So patients sometimes react better to doctor's voice note.
Absolutely.
And he's trying that with an AI voice drop. So voice drop is something where doctor records his voice, a generic voice, like you're not giving any patient name or anything. Just basically say that, hey, I want to see you back. I haven't seen you for a while. And there are openings next week. Just, what I just mentioned. And when patient listen to that, they're thinking the doctor has actually
Taking the time to call
and leave a message, right? And then they call back. And when they call back, the AI is answering for them. This is still under experimentation, but what we're expecting to see is that more people are going to respond to that voice message compared to a text message. But I'll keep you updated on how that experiment
and that
goes,
makes perfect sense. You guys are always coming up with better solutions. So.
Yeah, we're trying to, right? So trying to help grow the practices, trying to see how the practices can consistently bring back patients and not lose patients just because, they haven't been able to get hold of the patients. So that's a recall system, I think, is the future, if that works, on how to bring back patients, because emails, nobody is checking emails. The open rate of emails have gone drastically down from like 70, 80% from 10 years to now to like 20%, 15% open rate. So patients are not even looking at emails.
You know what does work with email that we do? So this is more for braces, but you can also use it for general dentistry. So what we actually do is, because we take pictures, right? When somebody comes in for a consultation, you're going to take the pictures and you're going to see how bad the teeth look. And so what we actually do is, not only for general dentistry, not only do we take the x-rays that we need, but we also take pictures. And so for those cases that are in your $5,000 threshold that you do really want to bring back, what we do is we have a templated email that says, hey, so-and-so, we haven't seen you in a while. This is how your teeth looked last time you were here. And then what we do is we attach a PDF file with their actual teeth. And then we say, these are the payment options available to you.
Nice.
And then that way, the patient already, assuming that they didn't start treatment because of financials, the patient sees a $200 a month payment plan attached to that. And they say, let me take care of it.
Yeah.
But what we're essentially doing is reminding them of how their teeth look,
the value,
and why they need it.
Yeah, the value and what's going to cost them. Right. I like that.
You know what's the number one solution though for recall and for trying to bring back patients? Don't let them leave the office without an appointment.
There you go. That's a big one.
That is the number one. Because if you don't put them on the schedule, they don't feel the urgency and they don't feel the commitment to you to come back.
And what do you think about also scheduling their family members while they're there?
It's a simple question that every single front needs to ask and needs to know how to ask. Like, Mr. Patient, is there anybody else that I can, in your family, that I can schedule for you today? That way, when you come back next visit, you don't have to have several appointments. Just one appointment will accommodate.
Okay.
It's very simple. And then they'll say, oh yeah, my teenager, my son, my husband, and they'll bring sometimes even the dog.
Even the dog.
Yeah, we've had some families bring their own dog as well.
Awesome. So going back to, I met with a dental practice manager a couple of months ago, and one of the major challenges that she was talking to me about was like, hey, I have to deal with last minute cancellations, and that's something that I've been struggling for a few months. I'm not happy with that. What can you do to help me? So how would you help somebody like that?
So we need to look back at what are the causes, what are the reasons why this could be happening, right? So number one could be what most of us experience. We're simply just busy. We forgot. We didn't feel that commitment again that we needed to come back. Number two could be if somebody's trying to avoid the bill, right? We don't have the cash right now to pay for the visit. So that's another reason why they would not come in.
True.
What would be another one? The urgency. They don't feel the urgency. We didn't convince them that it's best for them to come back every 6 months or to come back for treatment. And so that's our fault at the office, because we didn't convey that urgency. So how do we fix that? We train our staff better to convey that urgency. We don't allow them to leave without a visit, even if they say, I don't know what my schedule is in 6 months. But let's still put it on the schedule. If you need to reschedule later on, that's totally acceptable. We can always accommodate your busy life, whatever it is.
Okay.
And then as far as sometimes you have to put a policy in place that is going to charge them a fee.
A cancellation policy.
And this can go two ways. Some doctors do not like it at all.
I have heard doctors basically raising their hands and saying, no, I don't like having a cancellation policy, just because they think they're scared that it's going to shoo away the patients to coming to their practice.
Most times, from what we've seen, most of the time it has the opposite effect. Yes, they'll be upset. They'll call the office and they'll be upset and all that. But here's the thing. The speed limit, for instance. Let's talk about that, right? Speed limit. It exists for a reason, and that is to not only for safety, but it's also to prevent people from, breaking the law and, all those things. In a dental office, the cancellation fee is there to prevent cancellations. right? And so if 50% of the people think that they'll get that cancellation fee and they keep their appointments, that's a win. What do you do with the ones that get upset and they call the office and then they say, I don't want to have that fee, blah, blah, blah. If it's the first time, you can always just void it.
It's your front office who do
Yeah.
have authority to waive that
Exactly.
fee. Okay.
You can just waive the fee, say, that's a first time courtesy, we're going to go ahead and waive the fee, but the patient knows that the next time they have to give you notice so you can fill up the schedule, or they need to show up.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Yeah. Awesome. That was good conversation. And I do think that I have personally benefited from the knowledge and the experience that you have shared, Daniel. So thank you for being with us today. And thank you for being part of Dentistry Dialogues, and appreciate all the time that you have put into this podcast. Thank you and have a good day.
My pleasure, Syed.